Hello, everyone, and welcome to Savage Bowling TV. Scott Gilmore here, and it's time for our player spotlight. You might ask where we're at. We're at the home of Jeff Mann, junior gold champion, track staffer, Marion College bowling player. We're going to get to learn a little bit more about Jeff Mann in our segment here, and I hope you enjoy it. Hello, everyone. Scott Gilmore here. We're inside the home of Jeff Mann, and we're going to get to learn a little bit more about this young man who has accomplished quite a bit in such a young time. Junior gold champion, state high school champion, and now junior Team USA player. So, Jeff, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I know a lot of people are going to want to learn a little bit more about you and how you've evolved into the player you are today. And we're going to start with essentially, when and how did you get started in bowling?
My dad worked at a bowling alley before I was even born, and he worked at it until I was probably, 6 or 7. And I always loved, he was the one that started me in bowling. And also when I was younger, my sister had to go to physical therapy. And one of her days of physical therapy was they took her bowling. And they always had her for 2 games, and she couldn't always finish the second one, so then they always had me finish the game as long as I could do it by myself. So that's kind of how I got a lot of it going. So,
well, I know you and your family are a very close-knit family. How important has that been for you at this stage of your young career?
It's a really important part to me, knowing that I've got such a strong support behind me, knowing that even if I don't do well, they're always right there behind my back. They've always got my back. It's just a really nice feeling that you've got such love behind you.
Yeah, your mom and dad have always been extremely supportive. I see them traveling to college tournaments now, and obviously your high school career. What kind of influence has your parents been on you?
They've been the most amazing influence on me. My dad's always taught me a lot of the bowling aspect. My mom always tries to get my attitude in the right place as well as my dad does. But they've been the best influences. My dad's always been my coach. So it's really nice to have that strong kind of family atmosphere with us.
Well, let's talk about Sarah.
Okay.
For those that don't know, Sarah has a disability. But what has it been like to grow up with her?
Probably one of the best privileges I've ever had. She's my best friend. She's always there. Even she'll always make you laugh no matter what type of mood you're in. You could be super sad or just mad at the world, and she'll just light you back up with laughter and joy.
It's always great to see how close you two are. And what was it like growing up with her, especially in high school? Because I know she was always big on waiting for you. You would meet her to pick her up and take her home, and now you're in college. How has that transition been for you two?
It's probably harder on her than me, but I miss her a lot too, just because every day after school I'd go pick her up. We'd come home for a few minutes, especially on days we had practice. She'd bug me until we left to go practice because she knows where we're going. And it was nice being able to see her right at the end of the day when you might have had a bad day and just, oh, hey, sis, how's it going? And she'd sit there and make you laugh, and just lots of love.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about some great success you've had. And in such a short amount of time, you've had a lot of success. And let's start with your high school career. How special was it to close out your career as a state champion?
It's definitely something that I never really would have predicted that would happen. I knew we had a pretty strong team, but I never really thought we were state champion material. I figured we could kind of squeak by, get through the first couple rounds and get to state. But I figured we might have just kind of fallen off, kind of gotten in a slump. But we, once we kind of saw the opportunity that we had ahead of us, we knew that we could do it. So we set hard on it. Right after semi-state, we practiced hard. We all got the motivation, and we were more than just a team. We were a family. We all hung out. We all talked to each other, and it was just a great atmosphere to be a part of.
I know, I was fortunate enough to be there and to call the action for the live stream, and I know you had to be even more satisfying because you were right there for, singles, and you struggled. I know you were a little hard on yourself, and I'm sure it had to be even more satisfying to at least get something there at the end of your
Yes.
career.
Yeah.
Well, in 2016, you had quite a summer, right? The Junior Gold Championship comes to Indianapolis. Let's look at this one step at a time. Going in, what were your expectations, given that there are over 3,000 entries into the Junior Gold Championship from all over the country?
I never really would have thought that I'd do much, make any noise, because the first 2 times I did Junior Gold, the first time I was a part of the U15 group, and I didn't do very well. And then I came back, I sat out a year and came back in the U20s division, and I think it was in Chicago, and I still didn't bowl very good. I wasn't really close to the first cut, but I'd started to have a good year earlier in the year with the Lafayette Open and then Indiana Masters for the youth. And I bowled pretty well for both of the events, and I was feeling pretty good going into it. I had good practice sessions. I had a line for them, and the first day it just clicked. I started out with the front 9 very first game, and it just kind of went off from there. And I just kept going up and up and up and up, and I just didn't look back.
Well, after qualifying, you find yourself in the bracket match play. Mentally, how hard is it to not think too far ahead?
For me, it was particularly very hard because that's kind of how I always looked at things, was like, all right, well, if I do this, then who am I going to face next? I never really thought like in the present moment, like one shot at a time. That's one thing that I've come to learn over the last couple of years or so, is trying to take things just baby steps instead of looking too far ahead.
Well, you win match after match, and now you make the CBS Sports Network TV finals. I was there, and you looked so calm on TV. What was going through your mind, and how did you really fight through to keep the adrenaline down, because that could always kind of get your mind racing as well?
Yeah. The first thing that I just kind of thought was, how did I get here? Like, it's just kind of so surreal that you don't really know what to think or feel. Like, it's just it's unimaginable. I never would have guessed in 30,000 years I would have been in that position. And noticing that Dustin and I both just struggled through practice on those pairs, just kind of gave me this kind of sense of, it's going to be a heads-up play, kind of going with the flow, just doing what you have to do to get through. And I just picked up a ball. I think I didn't even throw one full game with the entire 30 other games we threw for qualifying, and ended up it worked. And after that point, watching Dustin struggle the first game, it was very sad, but just kind of gave me that sense of calmness that I knew I was in such a big lead that I didn't have to stress too much.
Having the tournament only essentially 60 miles or so from your home, you had a strong contingency of family and friends. How did that help you? And how did you feel? Was it pretty cool to see everybody in the crowd watching you?
Yeah,
perform?
It was amazing. It was great to see friends and family just from all over, especially from here back in Lafayette, my hometown. It's a great feeling.
You touched a little bit about Dustin Zenner, who you bowled against in the championship match, and Dustin's from South Bend.
Yes.
Did it help you to bowl someone that you knew really well, or would you rather bowl somebody you didn't know?
It's a bittersweet type of deal, because Dustin is such a good friend of mine, but it also kind of changed the way that I was attacking the finals, because throughout match play, I just kind of had this thought process in my mind that, like, I'm just gonna beat everybody. Like, just that's it. There's no doubt about it. I'm just gonna win. Like, and then when I went to the finals, it was so hard to think that way, because it's like your best friend that you've known since your freshman year of high school. You're going into your senior year. You've known him for so long, and you've come so close. It's kind of hard to think. It's kind of hard to think the same way. Now it's just kind of gone to, all right, let's just go make a shot. So,
well, relive that moment. What was it like to win the biggest prize in youth bowling?
It's just so surreal. Like, just thinking back at it. I remember going into the 10th frame of the last game on the TV, and I just remember saying to myself, like, I could hear the announcer say, Jeff Mann is your 2016 Junior Gold Champion. I just remember telling myself, like, this is unreal. This is amazing. Like, I still don't know how to feel about it. It's just it's really awesome and amazing.
Well, you happen to have your trophy just right here next to you.
I do.
I picked that up earlier. That's got some weight to it.
It's heavy because, I mean, I remember the first time I picked it up and I put it above my head. I mean, I was using all the strength I had left in me just to do that. It was a.
Is it hard to look at
nice
that
toy.
and think how many youth bowlers would love to have that in their hands?
There's definitely days where I've gotten in my slumps, and I just think back to myself, like how there's days where I have a lot of self-doubt in my abilities, and there's sometimes when I just kind of look back at the trophy and I just kind of think, like you can do this, like you've done a lot of what you've told yourself is the impossible. So just kind of looking back at it kind of gives me some more self-motivation that, you've done something really well. You're classified as the top in the nation for quite a while, so.
It's almost like hitting the youth bowling lottery. I mean,
It is.
think about the number
It
of
is.
kids that enter that event every year, and here, Jeff Mann from West Lafayette, Indiana, is your champion. It's kind of hard to think, isn't it?
It is. It's very.
Well, not only do you win a trophy like that, but that championship earns you a spot on Junior Team USA. How has that experience been for you?
That's probably been one of the best opportunities I've had in the few years that I've been really competitive in bowling. We got shipped out in June to go to the Team USA training camp in Arlington, Texas at the International Training Center. And that's probably one of the best experiences I've had with such top-class coaches. They do a really good job. They get down to the nitty-gritty stuff of your game and try to improve every single thing. It's really cool. It's a lot of knowledge.
Well, you bowl your first Junior Team USA event in Mexico, and your mom and a friend of hers, I believe, goes with, right?
Yes.
Or was it another relative that went with you?
It was a friend. It was a good, close
friend of
family
hers,
friend.
right? What was it like to represent your country? Because it's a dream for any amateur player to be able to represent Team USA in an event, and you get the opportunity to do that.
It's a really cool experience. It's a great feeling. It's a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of people from different countries, so you kind of learn about a little bit of different cultural things while you're there, but you also just kind of interact with a lot of them too, and it's kind of fun learning some of the different languages, trying to pick them up, but it's a lot of fun. You get to meet with everybody, you become really good friends by the end of the week. There's not really too many people that you really you don't get along with. Everybody just kind of comes together. It's a really cool experience.
It's a situation too where you're almost like a celebrity to other countries. Everybody knows how good the USA program is. I mean, when you go there, these other kids are probably looking up to you, and that's kind of amazing to think, isn't it?
Yeah, I talked to a couple of them, and a lot of them were they're almost praising us, and I was like, no, we're all here for the same reason. We're all the best of our countries. You guys are just as good as us. It's not one way or the other. We're all equal here. So.
Well, yeah, you did have some success, and I know you have some medals. Tell us how the results were.
So there was a few different events. So the first day was singles, and going into the last game, I was actually leading. I had no idea I was leading, and we had a few minor mishaps on the lanes with some technical difficulties, and I ended up struggling pretty bad that last game. And I went from getting a gold to a bronze, but that's still really it's a great feeling just when you hear your name getting announced on the podium and you bow down to have your medal presented to you. It's a pretty cool experience and feeling knowing you're representing your home country.
Absolutely. And you had some success in another event too as well?
Yes, we did. We almost had 3 bronze medals actually. We had one I got one for singles. We had one for a team event, which we did pretty well in. And then we also almost had one for trios. We just missed out on that by about just a couple pins. Canada had to put the last one in, and oh man, he nailed it.
Well, I know, having the coaching and the experience of Team USA and traveling, that's really seems to elevated your career, and now you take that on to the next level, which now you're a bowler for Marion College in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
How's that going?
It's going really good. We've worked really hard already this year. We just played the last tournament that we went to in Michigan. We placed 8th the first day and 5th the second day. We're becoming really strong as a team. We're becoming a lot closer as the year goes on, developing more of a relationship and developing bonds with each other. It's just becoming more of a family atmosphere, which is what we've been talking about the entire time.
Have you been able to take that Team USA experience and pass that on to your teammates at Marion?
Yeah, sometimes I kind of feel like I really hate to like boast about things or like brag about things. And sometimes when I start talking about like Team USA, I feel like I'm bragging about it a little bit just because like I learned there's so much knowledge that they present you at the camp, and it's just really cool. And I try to like kind of pass some of it off like bits and pieces here and there, you know, trying to explain some things, or like, hey, when I was there, they had us doing this drill. Like you might want to try it a couple times, just see how you feel about it. Like just kind of presenting some ideas to them.
What was as we kind of maybe go back here just a step with Team USA, Junior Team USA, what was the one thing that technology-wise or training-wise that just kind of blew your mind? You couldn't believe that, wow, this actually, they actually have this?
It's really cool. They've got, I think, it's called the CATS. I don't remember what it stands for, but like pretty much what it does, it's from Kegel, I know, and I think it's CATS, or it might just be something, just same thing like it. But as you throw the ball, it gives you the laydown point, like where you lay it down on the lane. It gives you like each time that it starts hooking from each phase, from like the skid to hook to the roll. It'll give you like a little pinpoint of like each time it starts to hook. It tracks the ball all the way down the lane. There's different colors for it. It shows you how it goes through the pins, like it bounces. It's some really cool high technology stuff in there.
Kind of gives you an idea of maybe a little bit of why the bad breaks in bowling happen, like
Yes.
the Stone 8 or 9.
Yeah,
or
it gives you
the
the little
Rapid
it gives you the little speed. It gives you your RPMs and your rev rate. It's really cool stuff.
Well, as as you had success and won Junior Team USA now at college, you get an offer to represent track brand with Ebonite International. I mean, how cool is that?
Amazing. I was fortunate enough to get in contact with Dave Wodka, and we just kind of started talking a little bit. And I had a few track balls at the time, which Paradox Pro at Junior Gold was amazing, got me all the way through match play, had front nine with it one of the days of qualifying. It's probably one of the main reasons I ended up winning. It got me all the way to the finals, which sadly I didn't get to throw it in the finals, but it got me there. So did the hard part. But and I love the company. It's a great company. I've always liked track stuff. I've had, until I shot my first 300, my high game was with the track ball and high series. I've always had a thing for track and hammer, so always been good company.
Well, as you move on, when you complete your career at Marion, and myself as a former collegiate bowler with Purdue, it does go by fast.
Mm-hmm.
And where do you hope life takes Jeff Mann at the conclusion of your college career at Marion?
I've thought about it a little bit here and there. I would love to bowl after college, but I'm not really sure if I'm going to do too much after. I mean, ever since I've been a little kid, I've always wanted to bowl on the PBA tour, and I finally got my opportunity to attend my first regional, and I did pretty good. I got 13th, so I was close to cashing, so it was a cool experience. Some of the people were really nice. It's a little bit different than what I would have expected. It wasn't super competitive as they always make it to be, but it's just nice. And I still want to do a few tournaments here and there, especially the PBA. I've always wanted to see what it's like to bowl like the World Series of Bowling or like the U.S. Open and all that. And I still want to, just I don't know if I'll do a whole lot after college, but I'll definitely keep bowling.
Thanks for taking some time to sit down with us. And we're going to head to your second home. We're going to go to the bowling lanes, and we're going to talk a little bit about track and Ebonite bowling balls and see Jeff throw a few shots and give his opinion on what he likes the best. So stay tuned for more with our Player Spotlight with Jeff Mann right after this.
Comedy. Oreo. Oh. Definitely either Honey Nut Cheerios, Reese's, or what was it? Fruity Pebbles. Probably. Oh, what's it called? It's called Let Me Down by this guy. He's a rapper. His name's NF. Probably Florida Georgia line. Let's see. Probably Mark Roth, and then Martin Luther King Jr. and Abraham Lincoln. Tom and Jerry. Let's see. Probably the Xbox One. Every college student has it, of course. Let's see. Of course, a new bowling ball, or 2 or 3. I mean, you never know. You always need a new bowling ball, because when it doesn't work, you just need a new one.
Yeah,
see?
absolutely.
Exactly. And then probably just maybe some gift cards or money. Definitely my dad. My dad's always been probably the biggest one. My mom, and then my grandpa. Steak. Biggest fear? The darkness. Oh, 3 wishes. First one would probably be a house with like 2 bowling lanes in it.
All right, there's one.
There's one. Definitely a new vehicle. Probably anything with good gas mileage, because
You're gonna
definitely
be
need.
conservative. You can have anything,
That's true. Well, okay. So if I do a nice truck, then I'd have to ask for money, because you have to pay for the gas that goes in the truck, or diesel, anything.
All right, welcome back to Savage Bowling TV and our player spotlight with Jeff Mann, and we're basically at your home away from home, a bowling center, right?
Yep.
We're going to talk a little bit about some of the bowling balls in the EBI brand, ones that Jeffrey uses on a regular basis as he travels through the collegiate scene, and also some of the tournaments that he bowled in, especially Junior Team USA. So we have a bunch here laid out. We're going to try to talk about each one of these. And Jeffrey, let's quickly talk about the first ball you have here on the left, the Black Widow Gold.
The Black Widow Gold is a very versatile ball. I use it for more of the medium to shorter patterns. It's it's a little more angular than I would say smooth, but it definitely gets going forward very well. It's definitely a good shin ball, if you will.
When you're using this ball in a tournament, at what part of that format are you using it? Is it early in the day, middle of the day, late in the day?
It's more of a little middle towards the end. It's not very. I haven't had much success off the fresh, because I need something to roll a little more. But that's very good coming in clutch at the end of the day when you just need a little more back end.
Well, it definitely is a very pretty eye-appealing ball from a shelf standpoint.
Oh yes, very, very.
You do see a lot of these balls out on a regular basis, and definitely something that if you're looking for something late in the day, maybe a little more skid flip, right?
Yes.
You want to check out the Black Widow Gold. Okay, as we move on to what we have here on the table, Jeff, I see you have a Track Red or Ruby Kinetic.
Yes. The Track Kinetic Ruby is it's a more of a strong ball. It's the second in the line of the Kinetics. As you see, this one is sanded compared to the polished Kinetic Emerald. It has the same core, just a little bit modified of the same as the Emerald. It's more of an earlier in the day ball, probably games 1-2 in tournaments and even league. It's more of a rolly ball that gets going a lot easier. It's very smooth, very strong ball, very versatile.
So, as you're explaining this to our viewers, this is probably going to be a ball you're going to maybe get out a little bit early in a block?
Yes. It's a really good ball to use as a benchmark ball.
Explain what benchmark is.
So when I say benchmark, I mean like the first ball out of my bag, and if it's hooking too much, then I know I need to bring a weaker piece out, or if it's just hooking not enough, then I either need to apply more surface to the ball, or I need to ball up, because I mean it's not the strongest ball, but it's got some strength to it.
All right, let's move way over here to the right, and we have what I see here is the Ebonite Affinity. This ball is really, in Ebonite's line, is more for late in the day. It's a symmetrical cover. It's in their mid-performance line. It features the GB 11.2 cover, and it features a brand new higher RG core in this. And what I've seen with this ball is it offers really controllable mid lane, and with a lot stronger back end reaction. It goes really well with the GB2 Phenom Pearl. But what I find when I'm throwing this ball, I like to use this ball later in the day. So when the lanes get a little bit drier and I need something that gets down lane and gives me a little bit more back in, so I don't lose carry. We have a typically, and you probably see a lot of times too, is when you get later in the day, you're trying to find something to get down the lane, but not lose enough energy and still carry.
Yeah, that's definitely the main thing in college.
So the Affinity is a great ball. It's in that mid-performance line. Very affordable. A lot of hook late in the day for the price. Okay, now as we move in towards the middle of the table here, we have one of the more anticipated releases of the summer in the Ebonite Verdict. And this ball is a ball with all brand new technology. It has the GSV-1 core and the new cover and the new Justice core. Brand new technology that Ebonite has not used until this ball came out. This is an asymmetrical core, so it's designed to get a little bit farther down the lane and more angularity on the back end. But what I've seen, it's got phenomenal mid-lane traction, and it doesn't really burn up when you get into some oil patterns that might have a little bit more back end. And Jeffrey, I know you have this particular ball in your bag, and what are you seeing with it?
I definitely see that it is probably the biggest ball in my bag. Definitely that extra step up from the benchmark, so it's stronger than the Ruby. So I know if the Ruby's not hooking enough, the Verdict is the first thing to go to. It's just like you said, it's got that good mid lane read and doesn't lose the energy. And it also, and you can even pull it out a little bit later in the day too, if you need to shape the lane a little more. It's really good for getting around the side of it a little bit and letting it shape the lane, and it finishes very strong.
Well, you see a lot of this ball out. I mean, it's amazing, and everybody that I've talked to that has thrown it has been extremely impressed. The one thing that I find a lot amazing about the ball is I have two, and I have one with the pin up and one with the pin down layout, and both of them are phenomenal. And one just reads a little, obviously the pin down will read just a little bit earlier, but it still doesn't lose that energy down lane. So if you're bowling in a tournament, you would probably see yourself starting with the Ruby, and then if that wasn't enough, the Verdict is where you're going, right?
Very, very much.
All right, as we move on, Jeffrey, let's talk about one of the brand new track releases in the Paradox Black.
All right. The Paradox Black is pretty much the exact same thing as the Paradox, the original that came out a couple years ago. That was a really good ball. It was probably one of my favorites at the time. This one has the exact same core, the iCore 2.0, as the original Paradox, and also has the same cover stocks of the KR9 Hybrid. So it's pretty much the exact same thing that you were looking for in the blue, just renamed it black, and it's actually a little bit less expensive than the blue. And it's a really strong ball. I fell in love with it ever since I started throwing it again, and it's very versatile. You can get around the side of it and let it go quite a ways down the lane, and you can roll it up the ditch, and it's really good.
Well, two things that I've seen. I have not personally thrown this ball yet, and it's definitely on my list to order because I loved the original Paradox. To me, that was one of the best releases that Track had come out with in quite some time, and really the staff at Ebonite or EBI and Track were very excited about that ball. Two things for me that I see and I've heard. One is I love the color and I love the look. So, and that sounds strange, but we all know that eye appeal on a shelf means a lot in these balls, right?
Oh, of course.
Second is this ball was extremely popular at the World Series of Bowling this year. And matter of fact, Matt Sanders pretty much what made the TV show
Yes.
at the World Championships with this ball, although he did go back and forth to urethane. But this ball pretty much got him there. And a lot of guys on staff with EBI and Track were throwing this a lot out in Reno.
Oh, yes.
So, and this ball just came out just not that long ago, right?
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So if you love the original Paradox, you're telling me that they're going to love the black?
Oh, it's very nice.
All right. As you want to put that back, and now we're going to talk about the last ball we have here on our shelf or on our table, and that is the Ebonite Real One. And this is the ball that created a lot of buzz when it was brought out and released because you heard of hashtag Open the Box. And a great promotion from Ebonite. And basically, Jeffrey, as you know, tell the viewers a little bit about what is Open the Box and the specific promotion surrounding this ball.
So, if I'm correct, it all started when they came out with the Mission Unknowns, where when you bought a Mission Unknown, you had a chance to either get the just original, the plain black, or you could also get the less rare of the red, or you could get the most rare one was the gold.
Correct.
But this time they came out with, they upped it a little bit, where you don't know if you got a real one or you have a chance to get four or five other bowling balls?
It's 5.
5. And
Well, 5 altogether because of what we'll mention, the only one.
the only one, yes. But it's a really cool incentive to think that you could get another ball, plus if you get the other extra ball, you also get the real one with it. So you get a chance for 2 balls in one. I mean, that's a good deal right there.
Okay, first off, what we want to make sure people know is it's not a gimmick to try to sell the ball, because
Yes.
this is based off the original release of the one back, I would say, in the late 90s. And I'm telling you right now, that ball was phenomenal, and this is just right there with it. The real one offers the GB 13.3 hybrid cover with the Centrex symmetrical core, designed to read the mid lane strong for a hybrid and still give you that extreme angular reaction down lane, and very strong mid lane. And that's the point of this ball, and that's what I see when I've thrown it. I'm extremely impressed with this ball. It's probably one of my favorite balls. I normally wouldn't, like you're saying, go to a hybrid cover as a benchmark ball,
Yes.
because sometimes you might get a little bit over-under on a wet, drier condition. But for guys that don't bowl a lot of leagues or tournaments, that love to bowl league 2 or 3 nights a week, this ball will be money for you. Mm-hmm. And we'll go over here real quick, too, with the open the box incentive. What they do is they have a limited release of the big one, the infinite one, and the angular one. So you could open a box in your pro shop, and inside could be a certificate, and that would tell you what ball you have. It could be the one, it could be the big one, the angular one, or the infinite one. And if you get that, you get to keep that ball and then send in the certificate, and they're going to send you a real one to your door. And you can't go wrong with that, can you?
No, not at all.
And I know you don't have one yet, and
Not yet.
even this guy right here is looking to get one in his bag. So, and I've been giving him a hard time during this whole process here and our spotlight with him. I can't believe you don't have the real one in. So that gives you an idea of what EBI has in all brands. We have Track, Ebonite, and Hammer represented. Obviously, Columbia 300's got a couple of good balls out. The Sabre, the
Yes.
Lit. So you might want to check those out at your local pro shop too as well. And anything else you want to mention on these?
Go buy them. They're great.
Well, we're talking about a junior gold champion right here, so I think his word could go a long way. So now that we've talked a little bit about these bowling balls, Jeff, why don't we go down the lanes and see what they do out there for you?
Sounds great
So
to me.
when we come back, we're going to have Jeff throw some shots with what we see on the table here right after this.
American now, one of the best in the world. Jones, average knockout number 10 today. Hello. Messenger across the deck. And what an advantage it is when you're playing that deep to have that kind of power in hand and revolutions, so you can get the headman to come over and take the 10 out like that.
Hi, Ebonite fans. Last year, for the first time ever, we gave you a reason to open the box. With the launch of our Mission Unknown program, you could have found one of 3 unique bowling balls. This year, we're taking it up a notch with the launch of the real one.
Different lane, 5-step approach. Nice result for TJ. Really hurt him for player of the year. That's the adjustment TJ wanted.
When you open the box, not only do you have a chance of getting the real one, you also have the opportunity of getting one of 4 limited edition releases from the original iconic 1 series. It all started back in 2005 when we launched the original 1. This ball changed the bowling scene forever. We followed that up with the big one, which expanded upon the hook potential of the original 1. The third release took hook potential to a whole new level with the infinite 1. The final release was the angular one. The angular one offered more skid and more flip than any ball that had been released at that time.
There are only 300 of each limited edition ball available worldwide. If you're one of the lucky people to open one of these balls, you'll find a card inside. The card will direct you to ebonite.com to register your serial number, which will get you also a free real one. So starting on October the 3rd, go to your favorite pro shop and hashtag open the box.
Mark Brown, we're 6-foot 18-pin lead, works on a strike, sixth frame. That's a good shot, buddy. That's what we want. All day, right there.
All right, we're back here at Landmark Lanes with our player spotlight with Jeff Mann, track staffer. And Jeff, we've talked about the balls, and now we're going to see you throw a few. And what are you going to start with?
We're going to start with the Paradox Black.
All right. So here's Jeff Mann throwing a few shots with the Paradox Black, and when he's done, we'll talk a little bit more about the ball and what he sees. Well, a lot right there. First ball we saw was an absolute stone 9, and then 10 in the pit. I see a lot of angular motion down lane. Is that one thing that attracts you to this ball?
I believe so. It's kind of got its two sides, kind of multi-personal. It's definitely pretty rolly when you want it to be, but it also can be pretty angular if you really need it to be. So it's pretty versatile.
Right now, let's say you're just going to league, you're going to bowl 3 games on a Wednesday night. Is this the first ball coming out of your bag?
It definitely is really close to it. If not, it's very close second, if not the second go-to ball.
All right, we saw a couple shots with the Paradox Black, and I was impressed. What are you going to go to next?
We'll go to the Track Kinetic Ruby.
Well, I tell you, I saw quite a bit there, a little bit different. What did you see the difference between the Black and the Ruby right there?
The Ruby definitely reads the mid lanes a little bit earlier than the Black. The Black tends to go a little longer and have a little more angle to it. The Ruby's a little more of a smoother shape, kind of like, if you will, a strong banana. But it's definitely a really good ball. I've always loved it. All
right, well, that's a shot with the Ruby. I see you got 2 more here for us to look at. What do you got?
Let's go ahead with the Ebonite Verdict.
All right, so you're going to step a little left?
Yeah.
All right, we saw a lot of power with that shot. If you're going to tell the viewers out there, we've seen 3 balls now. We've seen the Black, Paradox Black. We've seen the Kinetic Ruby, and now we've seen the Ebonite Verdict. What did you see as that ball went down the lane that kind of differentiated that from the other 2?
It reads just about the same spot as the Kinetic Ruby. But the difference is that you are probably going to be typically a couple boards more left than the Ruby with the Verdict. So, in essence, it's reading earlier, but it doesn't really look like it just because it's reading the same spot, but you're further left, so it's obviously stronger. Yeah,
and one thing you have to be careful of, too, and what I've liked so far from all 3 I've seen is it gives you a little bit of versatility, even with those 3 balls in your bag, where you have, it looked like the Black was a little bit more stronger than the Ruby, but the Ruby was very consistent as it went down lane.
Yeah. The best part that I do like about that is that all of them are able to, you can roll all of them, as well as you can get around the side of them, and they still maintain all that energy going into the pins.
Yeah, and you talked about the Ruby being a benchmark ball, the ball you would start with. It looks like for me, when I'm watching you, if that didn't work, you're going right to the Black, and if the Black doesn't work, you're going right to the Verdict.
Yeah. The Black is probably my favorite. The Verdict is a very close second just because of how great it is.
All right, we've seen the strong balls. Now we're going to go to a ball that's a little bit later on in the block, and that's going to be the Black Widow Gold, right?
Yep.
All right, another strike. No surprise, right, from Mr. Jeff Mann, but I saw something a little bit different there. A little bit more right with the feet, right?
Yep. The one thing I do like about this ball is, again, just as the rest of them, it's very versatile. But this ball is really exceptional because you can polish the crap out of it, and it's going to be really good late in the day. Or you can also put surface on it and then put a little bit of polish over it. And it gives it that little bit of extra, a little couple foot earlier read, but also maintains that energy going through the pins.
Well, what we've seen right here in just 4 shots and 4 balls is we've seen a lot of versatility with the EBI brand. We've seen the benchmark in the Kinetic Ruby. We've seen a little stronger ball in the Paradox Black, even more aggressive in the Ebonite Verdict, and then something a little bit later on the day, the Black Widow Gold. And what I've seen is that you've been able to stay somewhat within like a 4 to 5 board area and still be able to throw strikes with each ball.
Yeah, that's one thing I really do enjoy about this brand and this company in general
is that they give you a lot of versatile balls where you can almost play the whole entire lane with them, and it's just great.
All right, well, we've learned a lot about Jeff Mann this weekend, and we learned a little bit about his family, his tournament success. We've learned a little bit about EBI brand balls, and we've seen him bowl a few shots too as well. So we hope you enjoyed our Players Spotlight here on Savage Bowling TV with Mr. Jeff Mann. We'll see you next time here on Savage Bowling TV. So long, everyone.